Oya. Ananga to go to gi. Dine that diri kale da rasma shirab lava shay. Lava sungit na la shirab lava shay kam. That din na shirab lava se kam di shirab lava te tungyi to be shirab lava la sige. Chida shirab lava se la da shirab de la mangu yebe na la ne. Thal to ba te tungyi to be shirab de. O di shirab lava de shay reswa.
So today we arrived at the section of text which looks at wisdom, the higher training of wisdom. So we have the 3 higher trainings, and here we're going to address that one of wisdom. And the wisdom that we're talking about here is the one which realizes emptiness. Again, within wisdom, there's many different types of divisions and categories. And here we're looking at the ultimate, the kind of one which has gone completely kind of in the profundity of wisdom, and it's the wisdom which realizes emptiness.
Another gar go yaresana shirab the go yares. Shirab the mena another numu does tawan and never so to yamares.
So the reason why we're looking at wisdom and we're studying wisdom is because so far, let's say we've developed calm abiding, and all the from calm abiding, we derive all these kind of powers and these higher perceptions. But again, these higher perceptions are not sufficient. And the reason is because with the wisdom of emptiness, we are not able to uproot and to eliminate all of the negativities and the disturbing emotions.
Dido Deja Tadine Nanazo de Jugutan Leda Numosla. That begin on a Numosla. That Numos at the Angana. That's all Maribas. We can see. So Maribas at the map of Sovala, Yinji Minji, Shirab the Kuyares. Shirab the Mana, Shirab Din on a Shirab and Anna Donido Shirab the Kuyare. The Mana, Dene, Tawa Numodi, Merasotuya Mares.
When we're talking about these negativities, we have the karma and the disturbing emotions. And within disturbing emotions, when we're focusing on this, we have the view of ignorance. Because with such a view, it's only the wisdom of emptiness, which is able to eliminate ignorance, and not any kind of wisdom, this specific wisdom associated with the realization of emptiness. And with such a realization of emptiness, this wisdom, we're able to eliminate the root of all disturbing emotions.
Nyomo se rumo da nyomo se ta che yo ba da dendes da de na ne nyomo go ta wa de timu din zin se des tonda mari ba se des dende wa mari ba de ya se be ta che yo des se ba sana pa se do ya che me ba cha do ya ge ta che yo des
As regards these disturbing emotions, it's something which is possible to dissipate. It is something which can be eliminated. It is something which is, how to say, there is this possibility to get rid of them. This is very kind of an important aspect of it. There's this possibility, there's this method to eliminate it. And what we're aiming to eliminate is the disturbing emotions, which are ignorance, which means grasping at inherent existence. And there is this method to get rid of this and to eliminate such a grasping and this ignorance.
머리 바티에 가른 진데기 알았으나 야나 가사게 다도 두번 징기도 야나 쳐게 다도 두번 징기도 근데 인데 다 머리 바세 두데 세야데 가르 세고 알았어 가사게 다메도 비시럽 야나 쳐게 다메도 비시럽 가사게 다메바다 쳐게 다메버서 동일이 똥바니도 비시럽 다 된다 똥바니도 비시럽기 머리 바다 세두고 세버치고 야래 제가 머리 바다 똥이도 비시럽디 미파 치라면에 미 간사당 야나 풍불라면에 치기 다매봐도 치기 다도 여반진디가 하고서 머리배 다도 여반지 되네 똥이도 비시럽디 다도 매봐도 되가 다 매봐진디가 저다 그냥 진당 가가차서 다 여봐도 다 내봤어 그냥 진당 무슨 가와래 진당 원게스를 잡으래 제가 머리바 매바 속인데 머리바단 진당 원게게 로치게 매바 소투그레 마도 로신다 관계에 매바 소투그 말해
As regards destroying or getting rid of ignorance, is what we're trying to look at, or this important thing to bear in mind, is thinking about what ignorance grasps at. So the object of ignorance is grasping at a self of the person. It can also be the self of phenomena. And when we're thinking about the possibility of eliminating this type of view, we turn towards the wisdom of emptiness, and which is basically the wisdom of emptiness is looking at its two objects the main object being that of the person, the second being that of phenomena, and looking at these objects and seeing the selflessness, so the selflessness of the person and the selflessness of phenomena. So this view of selflessness is what the wisdom of emptiness is perceiving. So the thing is that this view of emptiness is going to have this capacity to destroy the ignorance because it's no longer grasping at its object in the same manner. So ignorance grasps at its object as being real, as in being intrinsically existent, as opposed to the view of emptiness, which is totally, a view which is opposite, which views the object as the selflessness of the person and the selflessness of phenomena. So it's important to bear in mind that these two kind of minds, that of ignorance and that of wisdom, are two opposites. So the only way to get rid of this ignorant mind is to apply the mind, which is its total opposite, the contrary, which is that view of emptiness, which sees the selflessness of the person and of phenomena. We can also say that they are direct opposites.
머리바도 매바 소투고야 말해. 뉴문문주와 리시 카샤 매바 소투고야래. 문주와 리시. 얘네야 싸우네 매바도 소투고야 말해. 다 싸우네 매바 소냐도 동의도 싫어 지구래다. 근데 인도 동의도 싫어 대 최단자랑 신게 동바니 있었다대 요래. 다 동바니 있어다 간사가 다 매바 간사 다게 동바다. 너는 최게 다게 동바스데 동바대 도대요. 제가 등진이게 다도 여번 증겨봐. 동바니 도네데 무인내지 시기여봐. 간사가 내지 무인내지데 가래서나 동바니 나를 요래. 스티셔데 요봐. 제가 그 무인내지데 시바 인데서 머리바디 그 무인내지다 마트바지 진데기 무에네즈다 마트바 진데다 텔라 캡딘 사마민두스 텔라 캡사민두스 다메도 베시로다 캡딘 사마두스 제가 그냥 내셔레스 지 내셔체 당진이부터 내셔체 다메도 베시로데 가서 내셔디제 제가 내셔 다메도 베시로게 내셔 당지디 자원에 내가 소투고요. 단지 자원에 내가 소투는 유모시 탄제 자원에 내가 소투고요. 신의 더부디 Nyumu shenta rabang munjuwa deshala soba rabang munjuwa tes negab mega sotugur mado tawane mega sotugu yamare gyunga wadi shegi yare.
Yes. So the first thing that we develop is going to be calm abiding. And what happens with calm abiding is that although we can meditate on calm abiding for a long time, it doesn't have this capacity to eliminate ignorance. It has a capacity to eliminate some disturbing emotions to a certain extent. It's very kind of limited in a sense. It kind of addresses the manifest or the most evident disturbing emotions and negativities. But to really address the root of all afflictive emotions, we really need this wisdom which realizes emptiness. And that means realizing the emptiness of phenomena, seeing the selflessness of the person, seeing the selflessness of phenomena. Because grasping at inherent existence is seeing the person or the individual as having a real self and as a phenomena having a real self. And it's only the view of emptiness is actually in accordance with reality, with how things are. The view of ignorance is in disharmony with reality, how things really exist. And it has no kind of backing of any sort of valid cognition. It is totally, how to say, because of its disharmony with reality, there is no backing or support of the direct valid perception which can back up ignorance, as opposed to the view of emptiness. It is in accord with reality, and it has this backing and this support of a valid cognition. Realizing the self, the absence of the self of a person, there's two kind of elements to it. So there is going to be the selflessness is this kind of is kind of the tool or the object which harms, and then you have the subject which it is harming, it is destroying. So the view of emptiness you kind of breaks down or attacks grasping at the self. So there's these two elements. It's almost if you think of a weapon and the target or the thing that it's hurting. So the weapon is the emptiness, and then it's attacking, and what it is attacking is the grasping at the self. So again, even though we might have a good calm abiding, it is limited in its sense that it can get rid of a bit of attachment, a bit of anger, a bit of aversion, but it is very limited to its capacity. So therefore, I must really engage in the practice of wisdom. I really must develop this superior training in wisdom. Lasso. Digidu, yeah. But without the practice of the perfection of wisdom, the obstructions will not come to an end. Thus, to eliminate all obstructions, to liberation on omniscience, the practitioner should continually cultivate the perfection of wisdom with skillful means. So this section in this verse, the second part of the verse 41 is talking about calm abiding, and however many higher perceptions or powers that one's developed derived from calm abiding, however many types they might be, it only has the capacity to eliminate disturbing emotions which are manifest, and it cannot eliminate its seeds. or its imprints.
싫어 바로 친데 좋아다 제외스라데 시당고도 싫어 바로 친줄 땅 제외스라고 동의도 싫어 땅 제외라고 동의도 싫어 땅 제는 제세 집어서 세투고 말해 경제 대실 대실다 가능성은 묘모데 세고요 묘모 시자이 집어 말에 빵듯이 묘모세데 남라 되게 묘모다 묘모가 빠져나 잡아 빵에 된다라 다 싫어 바로 치마들 라고레스 싫어 바로 치마 딱도 고마자 그랬어 딱 알아줘 뭘 알려 담고 들었다
So as regards the first, the third line of verse 41, without the practice of the perfection of wisdom. So without the practice of the perfection of wisdom, it's bringing on to a reason. The reason why we should develop the perfection of wisdom is because without this perfection of wisdom, the obstructions will not come to an end. These negativities, disturbing emotions, and its imprints cannot be eliminated. So this is why I must always cultivate and develop the perfection of wisdom.
맞아요. 그래 다 상계 좀된 대기 좀내 지딩 감대 준비 좀된 대기 차례 조대 가랬으나 내가 조대 가랬으나 맨 반서 동인순 같은 좀내 동이 모래지가 가랬을래디 상계 좀된 대기 출근 남라 먹고 쇼지 숨어래 내 탐제 동이 또에 탑수 뭐냐냐 Geshe shimbu shiwa kaya karasung dosu. Yela dida tamche ni tube shirabu dondo sung sung do. Kaya sana kaya gyachiwa langi rimba mangpo shivu sung yorwa sange jomde degi. Ode tamche sange jomde degi dini danda shirab gaya chido sung bares. Ya dongi dobe shirab gaya chido sung bares. Dongi dobe shirab gaya na kaya yores. Nyumu setu goyo. 뉴몬스나 레메버샤요. 레메버샤는 겨와라인 되잖아. 코아리 겨와라인 되잖아. 어디래서?
So the Buddha came to this world, the Buddha Shakyamuni came to this world, and what was his main activity? What was the main thing that he did? The main thing that he's done is teaching us emptiness. This was the main element that he has done. And there's been these kind of so many multiple ways which has been taught, multiple methods which have been presented, and all of these methods are ways to realize the emptiness. And it's also explained by Shiwala. So Shantideva also talks about it in this kind of extensive, these vast activities, the vast conduct teachings. As regards to, this, the wisdom of emptiness is a way, all the various teachings that the Buddhas has spread are to develop this wisdom of emptiness. Because the point is, once one has realized emptiness, one is able to eliminate disturbing emotions, its imprints, and this means that there's no longer karma, and this means that there's no longer rebirth in samsara.
야가게 개발로는 센다꾸미 쓰셔라.
Ale, tsima, kande?
센다꾸미.
Ale.
센다꾸미 야가게 개발로는 센다꾸미 쓰셔라. 공게 들었습니다. 3년스 다 신했고 다 신의 공부들어. 신의 공부들 간에서만 변화 신화지라 매춘주지 매춘주지 마와 마시레스. 매춘주면은 그냥 따라드나 신로마를 될 치료도 마도 현다 자오 치료도 말와. 제가 로마다 자도 치료와 얘네야 라야 잡아보니 신도랑자 로마도 참아 깨인 거래. 제가 신에게 내가 되면서 제대로 말했습니다. 알아서도 네베께 테스트다 뉴모 라바로 내가 내가 차로도 이네요. 자오 던지게 사베나 잡아 하대 이거 인데 근데 자네 내가 소토 말해. 다 다니도 싫어들어 소래. 다음에 더 싫어도 다 별을 깨봐야 돼. 싸우네 말없어. 다 싸우네 깨면 저 신경 동무 싸우네 자고 치고 나죠. 모두 잘해.
There's a great Indian pandit, Tsirakumi, which I don't know the Sanskrit name for it, but he talks about calm abiding and the kind of, again, the capacity that calm abiding in this meditation has. And he talks about this practice being quite a, he associates or uses this metaphors of fire to describe the practice of calm abiding. So it is like a small fire. Calm abiding is like a small fire, and it has this, a small fire can burn leaves and kindling and small bits of grass, no more than that. And the fire will burn these little things up, and then, you know, there will be more, more leaves which will come along and more bits of grass and so forth, so it will burn again. So nothing is ever burnt and destroyed at the root. So this is the kind of the limitation of the practice of calm abiding, because they come again. And if we really want to get rid of the root of disturbing emotions, what we really need to address is grasping at the self. And this is only wisdom, the wisdom of realizing emptiness, which can actually destroy it. And that would be like a fire which has a capacity to burn a whole tree trunk.
저는 something 무엇이라 소베 들리기 전에 가리 여바 있는 양 비뉴 사변되게 좀 보고 말해. 뉴물 제가 좀 맞으면 내 시제 제가 대장 좀 보고 말해. 제가 예발도 동료도 싫어하고 러그로 동료도에 타시적으로 동료도와 배제적으로 해서 계속 동료도 도와주지만은 그 집에 사변나 잡아 보면 그냥 라자를 잘했어 봐.
Calm abiding and any kind of higher perceptions which are developed or derived from calm abiding, and any kind of quality or capacity that we derive from this practice has, you know, doesn't have the capacity to eliminate disturbing emotions in their entirety. It can't get rid of its imprints. Forget about the veils to knowledge. It doesn't have this capacity, and really what we need to do to get rid of all these things, we need wisdom. We need the wisdom which realizes emptiness. I must therefore develop this wisdom. I must therefore put effort into developing this wisdom. And it's only once we've developed this wisdom that we are actually equipped with the tools to destroy disturbing emotions and their imprints and their latency.
뉴도 탄제 캔데가 되는 지도 고면지 다 대수야 다 그냥 피들이 그냥 달라고 말해 다 뉴문을 집어던 시제 집어들라 뉴문은 시대잖아 뉴버서 살와 떠나고 딱 미마도 봐 말이바 집어다 시지 어디 됐잖아요 뒷님보다 가려서 동만이도 싫어들었어 제가 제부 상기고 고마 타버는 되겠지 연바이나 다 동이 네퍼도 동이도 탐시 적으로 와 동이 공략 탐시 적으로 와 동이도에 일단 매지 적으로 와 가르치는 게 고마를 지기야 말아 가르치는 게 또에 탐시 지기야 말아 어디를 쓰고 네퍼도 적으로 봐
So again, Shantideva talks about disturbing emotions and associates our view of ignorance as that being darkness, as not seeing anything, as being in total in the pitch black kind of thing. And what Shantideva is asking us is like, we want to obtain enlightenment, we want to have this result of becoming a Buddha. And the method to do this is wisdom. We need to develop this wisdom which realizes emptiness. We need to put effort into this. So why aren't we doing this? What's going on? Why aren't we actually putting effort into developing this wisdom which realizes emptiness?
제가 지금 누나 가르친 거에서는 동이도 왜 싫어다 되나? 뉴무 간기 사ben 본투고 말해서 숨는데 지금 돈다를 가려야 했으나 해반 멤버 강사지 인바 있느냐 해반 멤버 년도다 안개게 강사지 인바 있느냐 뉴무 봐야 돈다라 동이 내가 또 그래 세워도 숨겨.
So this Geshe quoted a verse from Shantideva, and this verse is basically mentioning that without the wisdom of emptiness, one cannot get rid of disturbing emotions and its seeds. It's not possible to do this. So he's even puts emphasis Shantideva in this aspect that even somebody of the vehicle of the hearers and solitaire realizes, they need to develop emptiness. So it is even one of their kind of central practices.
제가 하나도 소수 뒤지게 공부해야나. 로조에서 좀다 가르쳐 보였으나. 동이 된데凶도 잘 로조시 보여. 동바진세의 과차에 탑시시 보여. 여러분은 동이 또에 탑시시 보여. 동이 또 도와 제고야. 이면은 동이도 왜 싫어도 결혼하면은 너무 가지야. 내가 소투 말했을라도 너무 가야면서 소마도는 냠이 시한다 도저히 가서 내가 때 되게 팽겨가 있는 짜오는 펜토 도는 거야. 뭐들 생겨.
If we're looking at the amount of time that we have to devote to study or whatnot, we need to think about what's what the central or the focus of our study is, and that really what it should be is studying emptiness, trying to derive some sort of understanding of what it might mean and develop some kind of realizations, because without that, there's no way of getting rid of these disturbing emotions or any of these seeds or latencies which accompany them. Any other practice that we might do might bring some kind of temporary relief, but really to get rid of them at the root, we need this wisdom which realizes emptiness.
뇽을 집어도 제 투에디 딱 가려했을라도 생내로도 마시나 제 투에 제요 말. 제 롱아래데 얘네양 코들아 내지게 돈이도 싫어도면은 제 롱아 얘네 제기 말아 봐. 제가 나고 코토만 나가 단다바 두 사배 두스다.
Within our minds, we have these two obscurations which are associated with disturbing emotions, and that which are the veils. We call them the veils to wisdom and the veils to disturbing emotions. These two obscurations or these two veils are things which can be eliminated from our mind. They have the possibility then to be eliminated. We have this capacity to eliminate them, but with how can we actually do this, get rid of these two obscurations? It is by realizing the reality or the mode of existence of our mind. This is the only way of doing it. So even though these two obscurations, those two disturbing emotions and those two knowledge, these two aspects, we can eliminate them if we do not take or put into practice this weapon, which is emptiness. We will never get rid of them. Even though they can be removed, we will never actually remove them. And this is the reason why up until now, so since beginningless times up until now, we're just kind of meandering and roaming around in samsara.
제가 먼저 생기 정신의 가라에서라도 되니 지메 레바 모쇼바드레스 지마 모쇼바드레스 생거라시 지마 모쇼바 생거라시라 지마 쇼요 말레스 제스 생거라시라 지마 쇼요나 내가 저 지마테 탑시치예요 말에 간저 가이산 남칼라 페나치 나라서 pollution shebaj mangu dosla bayana e pollution diga dekho lubu ge kyenge chungare ma da ko namke ranshin marwa yesi namke ranshin yima yina ko sedo eche ya marwa pollution me so to eche ya marwa jaga de tangje pollution de lubu ge chen shenge da go chungwa inda 그 매와 소토에 주야라스 대나시장 안서 셈게 그 뉴모 되게 셈게 정신라 슈면서 난게 정신라 pollution 되게 다 마쇼바 나신자 원 셈게 정신라 안서 그 되게 슈면도 기게 되게 참 루보도 좋아 미절로 콘라랑에 주는 콘라랑에 말아 난게라 어디나 쉬어서 그 루보도 좋아해
When we think about what the nature of the mind might be, the nature of the mind is that which is clear, which is pure, and it is devoid of all kind of contaminations, obscurations, or whatnot. If this wasn't the case, if the nature of the mind was contaminated and it was not pure, it was actually stained with these negativities, then there would be no method. There would be no way out of it. We couldn't change the situation. It's the same if we think of this example of pollution. We see there's a lot of pollution. It's the situation which we know is kind of like it happens, it gets very bad, and then it can change. So the situation, as you can say, describe it as temporary. The pollution is adventitious. It's not that of the quality of the sky. If we're talking about air pollution, for example, if the pollution would have the nature of the sky, there'd be no way to get rid of it. So it's the same here when we're thinking about the mind and the nature of the mind being clear and pure, and all of these disturbing emotions being adventitious, kind of appearing, almost like somebody who gets very angry. They get very angry, the kind of anger comes up and then it goes away. It's something which is kind of sort of spontaneously arising or adventitious. We usually use it, translate it as that.
연다 가인스나 생기 껴디가데 생기 정신을 슈매 봐인데 생기 껴디가데 장해지도 관계다고 장고랬으나 탁도는 싫어하다고 장고래 싫어 간다지슬라도 동인도 싫어지다 내다고 장교도마다 싫어 생기 장고 말해 제상 나도 동인도 싫어들다 배제적으로 새 준비되래.
When we're talking again about the mind and the quality of the mind, the nature of the mind, and we have all of these sort of faults or negativities which appear in the mind and then being different, they're not actually part of the nature of the mind. Because they're not part of the nature of the mind, we have this capacity to purify them. And what is the best method to purify them? It is the method of realizing emptiness. It is the method of wisdom. Apart from that, there is no other method, and this is why I must strive. I must put effort into developing this wisdom. Wisdom without skillful means and skillful means too without wisdom are referred to as bondage. Therefore, do not give up either. This verse 43 is referring to the association and to the unification of method and wisdom. So it is not enough to just have method. It is not enough to just have wisdom. These two need to be united, need to be brought together. The same as when we talk about the birds of a wing, the wings of a bird, sorry. So the bird needs two wings. If one wing is not enough, it can't just have one wing to fly. It needs both of those wings to be able to do so. For somebody who is aspiring to obtain Buddhahood, to obtain the state of omniscience, they need to develop, they need to have these two practices of method and wisdom. One cannot abandon, neither of these two can be abandoned. And the reason for this is going to be explained now. The Buddha stated in a sutra, I think it's the Stainless Sutra, that method without wisdom is bondage, and wisdom without method is bondage. So it's mainly, this is mainly put an emphasis on the point that one practice, a singular practice, is not enough. These two practices must be united, must be brought together. So this brings us to think about when we say, oh, we need to develop these two practices, that of the method and wisdom. What actually is the method? What method are we talking about here? Again, the wisdom. What is this wisdom? What method are we actually considering in this practice? It is this, so it reads in the verse 44, to eliminate doubts concerning what is called wisdom and what skillful means, I shall make clear the difference between skillful means and wisdom. In this verse, it says, the third line, I shall make clear the difference. This is quite an important point, because what does this mean, making clear the difference? I think what it's talking about here is regards wisdom and method. It basically means understanding what each one of the definition is. What actually is the wisdom? What actually is the method? Understanding that wisdom and the method are two separate things. They're two different kind of ideas or practices. Understanding that what the method is, how one purifies the negativities associated with it, how one accumulates the merit, and the same in relation to wisdom, how one purifies the negativities in relation to that and accumulating merit in relation to wisdom. And this brings us back to this idea of the accumulation, those two accumulations, the two collections, that which are derived from wisdom, that which are derived from the method. And we need to unify, we need to have both of these collections, we need to have both of these accumulations, those which come from the accumulation of merit and then the accumulation of the wisdom. One way of thinking about this is breaking it down in this way. So we have the basis, and the basis is the two truths, that which is associated to the conventional reality and the ultimate reality. Then the second point would be the path being method and wisdom. And then finally bringing us to the result, and the result being the wisdom body and the form body. As regards method, the method aspect, what the method aspect actually refers to is the mind of bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. Then the wisdom is the wisdom realizing emptiness. So these two aspects, so first of all, addressing the method and this mind of bodhicitta is associated with the practice which are called the vast conduct. So it's going to be practices in relation to the perfections, love, compassion, patience, generosity, and so forth. All of these fall into the category of the method. And then when we talk about wisdom, this is going to be called the practice of the profound path.
Lamring Gordon, something that Lewison do, something Persian Sheba, or deep parto, Geshe will longer than but shame. Hamas Lamring, Hama de la Haton Shigar, only the very much Shigar. He goes Samilang but Shigar. That Junjura Shashan Dana Shide. Lu Kubati, Samilang but Shigar. Lu Gaba Yanjadi, Joshua Language Shigar. What do sir? Rodan do something. That Cheta Tabgicha, say the Lu Jaganala, Juju Richard, Lu Jaganala Tabgicha Shado. Lu Tamadiki Shiro Shado. Lamri Rachana, something with the Casada, something Persian battle, then they're gonna Samadra Jasham together. Then Tabgicha Shado. Then Shiro was shot. What a Hadong Negos Shado, say Ozuka. Shiro Hadong Negos Shado.
Based upon the Lam Rim teachings, if we look at the beginning of the text, from the beginning up until the perfection of concentration, all of this, which is included here, would be part of the extensive path, the vast conduct path. Then the last section of the Lam Rim, which is associated with special insight is that of the profound path, the profound sequence of practice, you could also call it. It is the same in the Bodhisattva Charvatara of Shantideva. We have those 9 chapters. There's 10 chapters, I think. But the chapter 9, the final chapter, nearing the end of the text, we have this chapter on wisdom, and everything which comes before that chapter on wisdom, before chapter 9, is all part of the aspect of the method. So we have these 8 chapters which are included in the side of the method, and then chapter 9, which is associated with the part of wisdom. So you can see it, this similarity in the kind of construction of the text in the Lam Rim and the Bodhisattva Charvatara. And now verse 45, apart from the perfection of wisdom, all virtuous practices, such as the perfection of giving, are described as skillful means by the victorious ones. So this verse is mentioning, or is talking about this mind of bodhicitta and the merits, or the kind of positive actions, or positive potential that we accumulate, and it's kind of dividing it in the sense of that all of the positive actions which are derived from generosity, patience, ethics, concentration, these 5 perfections, all of these are part of the this method, and then all other merit which might be accumulated will probably be part that of wisdom. It's kind of dividing it and separated it into 2 groups. In relation to the practices that we might do on a daily basis, or such as prostrations, offering, the 7-limb prayer, refuge, and the practice of refuge and bodhicitta, all of these are part of the method. And then what is part of the wisdom, it's probably things like sitting down and studying and trying to increase our knowledge and understanding of things. And what this brings us to understand is that we really need these 2. We need this method and this wisdom, and we need to unify and bring these 2 things together. In relation to any type of virtuous activity that we might engage in, whether from our body, our speech, or our mind, it's kind of positive conduct, or this mind of bodhicitta, the kind heart, love and compassion, all of these are part of this method. And we can also engage in virtuous activities and virtuous actions with kind of this mind of wisdom, associating it with wisdom. But in this case, it's still not, we can't say that wisdom is part of the method. They're different, they're distinct entities. Something which is important is to consider and to think about the practice that we do in meditation practice, kind of a formal sitting meditation practice. And most of us, it's quite a difficult practice to engage in. And there's different, processes or, different types of meditations that we can do and different reflections that we can have. They can be mantra recitation and so forth, but only that which is contemplating emptiness is associated or is part of the wisdom, the wisdom element. And any other practice which we might do in sitting session, like mantra recitation and so forth, that will not be part of the wisdom practice. In relation to wisdom and understanding what the wisdom is, it is important to know what the method or the method to progress or the way to progress in increasing our wisdom. And to do that is by studying. We need to familiarize, we need to study what actually the wisdom or emptiness actually is. And we can look at, for example, study the Lam Rim, and it's going to be describing a reality, the real mode of existence of phenomena. And without such a study, without that support, it easily happens that people make mistakes or that people get totally lost and confused as regards the actual meaning of it. Verse 46, whoever under the influence of familiarity with skillful means cultivates wisdom will quickly attain enlightenment, not just by meditating on selflessness. In relation to these, to to these practices, so which are mentioned in the verse 46, these kind of this entrance to the practice, we have low. Low. Low parinchia dila.
Let me give it like a chinare, Yana give it like a chinare, said Yorwa. What the Nijimato, Chisosun Devanashi Drosayamares. What the day sound down, some the day just do a Tara and Kawacha. Those are the some Tabacha channel we are Tabacha.
That's in relation to our sequence in our practice, so at the beginning of the Lamrim, and if we're thinking about a being of lower capacity, we could say what we tend to, the first reflections are going to be contemplation on impermanence and developing this certitude in relation to our own death. And then once we have this kind of clear understanding and this real mindfulness of death, we come to this understanding that when at the moment of death, we're going to be following our virtuous or non-virtuous karma. And we can't just do whatever we want. We're going to be following these previous karmas accumulated. So it's these types of contemplations which are associated, which are part of the method aspect, the method element. We also have in the Lamrim these other elements which are described. So it's going to be the other perfections associated with the perfection of generosity, patience, ethics. We have also a joyful enthusiasm, this effort, but this is a bit different because joyful enthusiasm, it can also be divided, or you can also, it can be divided into that which is associated with the method aspect, that which is associated with the wisdom aspect. So it's a little bit different, this one. But the point is that these contemplations develop a familiarity, we can develop a steady, a kind of stable basis or stable habit of these virtuous actions. And these virtuous actions will enable us to then generate this mind of bodhicitta, this mind of enlightenment. So this is why they're part of the method aspect.
Can
I just ask a question, please?
Yeah.
So, under different schools of Buddhism, often it's translated as compassion and wisdom rather than method and wisdom. So, although I've been attending teachings for quite some years now with this, with this particular school, I still find it a bit confusing why it's talked about method and wisdom. And obviously I've been listening, trying to understand what Geshe has been saying. Just it seems to me that when one's developing wisdom, that one is also using a particular method, and Geshe referred to certain tools that one uses. So I'm not really questioning what falls under the category of method. I'm just questioning why the term method is used rather than compassion. And I can see, of course, it's much broader when you're looking at all the different reflections. Anyway, that's long enough questions, so I'll stop now. Thank you.
아니 탑라비에티 탑기 탑라 나초 탑시치 gyuradoa 탑시 기규로와 가시 고란소티 칼라버리 닌제 탑디기 탑라 고란소 닌제 페주치 gyore 지상 닌제 단시랍 지상 건소 탑디 갑둘라고 말해 고란소 닌제 아니 고란티기 똑바데삭도 가르치네 가시 탑랍 gyore 가시 닌제랍 gyore 고란티 똑바디 스타데기도
I ninji sila de yana ninji kundulane. Ta damanda chejuarba. Jawan damanda dreji. Ninji kundulane jawan damanda chimbatanya yore to dedran tsudim sunere soba komya yore. Ta tenere jenen shimata jete kensabdo. Or tabla ninji jugo beje dana mindig sorje. Nanzo kansana tab기 조 ninji sila digire. tab기 조 champada ninji chanjuk sem sila digire. 싫어고 조 동의도 싫어 슬라는 되게 싫고 대쪽고 라나 때 민딩에 되도 나 먼저요 슬라
So we can think of it like this as regards compassion. So with the motivation of compassion, one can engage in many virtuous activities, perform very numerous positive actions, whether it's to develop, practice in generosity, ethics, patience. So with this motivation of compassion, we can engage in these activities. But to just, instead of saying method, to just say compassion, it's a little bit, it feels like there's something missing, because we can say that compassion is a central element of the method, as the method kind of side of things. And as regards wisdom, we can say the central element of wisdom is that of emptiness, but there's many types of wisdoms as well. And within the methods, there's many types of methods, but you could say that the central point would be that of compassion.
조게 차네 ninji 탑게 차슬라데 탑 ninji 세지다 싫어 동의도 싫어서 배제 되는 다닌 게 개교서 교르가
So it probably comes down to, you could say that in relation to the method, the method of compassion. And so compassion becomes a central method, or the key method. And that's probably why you've heard different types of translations, because they've talked about it in that sense. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? So, well, I have two questions. I don't know if I can ask both, but one is, I've been thinking about reflecting on the emptiness of myself. And I get a bit confused, because I think as all these parts to myself, and there's nothing else. So like, who's deciding what to do? Like, if you think about the mental factor of intention or motivation, it's like, according to this idea, there'd be nobody deciding what to do except this mental factor of motivation. Shouldn't there be somebody deciding what to do rather than the part itself deciding what to do? Does that make sense?
Do you mean if you're doing the kind of, the meditation, and you mean the person who is searching for, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like you're trying to search for yourself. When you meditate on emptiness, you're trying to find the I.
Yeah.
And then we're told that it's all just parts. But there's no self except for the parts. But how can the parts just decide what to do themselves? It makes no sense to me.
Okay. Again, la Kuranti ki kadishuyati kansa kitame komya tiki kolaje ani susu rang dakti gom gyabdira susu ki supotela shargom chiarwa ani chashe ani lapan la yore dakti kawa yometi komya chidwa ani da neba songsan khandre susu rang tiki gom tende chi gyabtuki yore kaisena da me yobina ani 칙 갈라고래 검 갸비야키 탑시 체겐직도아 치당 티칙 슈도도아 티 라트선
내가 엄자겐게 탑시 제겐시도 왔어 탑시 제겐데 따라했어 그게 요하랬어 그 캐리랬어 하고서 그 요하래 그 먼저 요하말을 나고 요하말 I honest. So near comjobs like near comja, Tashi Chigarba. So the my honest. The men's la we are. Then I was da man said the la we are. Da said it, Nasete, Narazona, Pumbunga. Sugu Pumbu, Soy Pumbun, Duji, number shiver Pumbu. Did you know that Das and Zugu said the Taji Mindus? Did it that did that said Mindus? Da message. Pumungala da says pa, then a dark something. I can't mean the just carsa.
Ra'e,
No,
Lola.
Lola, which is Lola Sikarang Subu de la Pumbo de la Tene, dark something. Tene, dark something. Madaje, Tida, Zagarona Niemdos, Lola Niemdos, Lola Sudden, Lola Mare, Semde Mares, Lusim Nimada Mess. Tini Semnal Zenament, Sugunalo Zagananda, Medi, Chilo Zenament, Niemdos, Rodre Geshe.
So there is somebody who is engaging in the meditation, or was practicing, how to say, this technique in order to be able to find the selflessness of a person, you know, the non-self, basically, when you're doing this meditation. And there is somebody which is doing this, and it's you, Carrie, which is actually performing this meditation. And we can't, this is undeniably in existence. So this is a little bit different as regards when you're looking for the selflessness of the I, in the sense that when you're looking for the selflessness or the non-self within the 5 aggregates, so you go in the form, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, consciousness, within these 5 things, you're searching for the self, the actual self, something which you can point to and be like, this is it, this is exactly, this is the I, this is me. But this is, that is what we're talking about, which is unfindable. You carry our dependent designation upon your aggregate. You are designated upon these, and this is the only way you exist. And it's the same for Lola. Lola, the word Lola, is designated upon the aggregates. But if you start to search, if you're scanning, you look for in the body, you look in the mind, you look within both of these things, or maybe it's both of them together. You look outside. There's nothing which can be found as being the actual part which we're looking for.
제가 매스 다 민두세게 다데다 다 예세게 다디 백하가라서 예세게 때는 딱상도예 민두세게 때는 마다게 다데 민두스.
So what's important is understanding the difference between the non-existence, something which does not exist, and with something which the non-existence of something and the absence of inherent existence of something. These 2 things are very different things to be clearly understood.
So can we say there's a merely labeled Kerry is deciding what to do, but it doesn't actually exist ultimately.
Gena kiranki tende yimbayina dak tigi gom gabdu keri ti takpe karlabore keri mintsam dangme ti gom gabgyore labayina jire. Exactly. Yes. So it is exactly that. It's the merely labeled Kerry which is performing this meditation, and this because if the Kerry or the self was non-existent, then there would be no way that you could engage in such a meditation, because it would just not exist. So it's really this merely labeled self or this merely labeled Kerry which is doing this meditation, and that's true. That exists.
I mean, it makes sense. I can say the words, but I don't understand it, of course, but obviously. Okay, that's my second question. When we talked about last week about the higher perceptions or clairvoyances coming from calm abiding, I know, Lolly, you weren't here that week, but we talked about that a little bit in the verses. How does that happen? Because I don't see it written anywhere. Is it just like you're going along the 8th to 9th stages of calm abiding and suddenly you hear somebody else's mind and you freak out? I mean, how does it happen?
Genla Kuranti ki katishuya shambachi yore. Aniti dontranguma kiranzu tiki ngushe shine gom gyabni ngushe chik tobya chikdu. Ani Kuranti ngushe ti kandres topgo yume tikolare. Ani Kuranti ki sumbate natsuti shine tiki ne geba yang guba ti lebne ani ngushe tende hoptugala chik tobyare yan hoptugala semdiki kare mishendiki samloti kare korgyume hoptugala chik shingyore kande double chik chungyona
아들 무엇이 타가지나 알레베라 자신은 신기 셈시도 무엇이 주나
no
신 파르베기 ndeba 가래 ndeba 가래 대시 다 된다고도 무엇이 타발라 알레당 고소소라 시라 손지기 내줘 타고 신에도 하분 손도 주고 내줘대 대라 때네 무엇이 주고 신에 그러더니 신은 무엇이 주고요. 심마다지 주엠도 다가서 타임도 봐. 신에도 사통도 대순직 냠니다 냠니 잡아 될라 때네 신이 무엇이 주고 무엇이 주도가 되래.
So as regards these higher perceptions or these powers which are developed through calm abiding, if we're taking one of these power, these higher perception, which is knowing what other people think, knowing what other people want, knowing what they don't want, all these different things, having this awareness of somebody else's mind, this comes from a result of association of the unification of calm abiding and special insight. And when these two things are combined, then one has can obtain this power of knowing others' minds and what they think. So this is how it occurs as regards that higher perception.
You understand?
You mean like when you say calm abiding special insight, you mean observing emptiness or observing any object of calm abiding?
Shila Sundrel ti kare Shila Sundrel la yate karla gore toni la migiore yang kare migiona.
나도 실라 손에서 돈이 계시게 말이야. 무엇이 더 실라 손을 타고 막 가서 돈이 또 오고 말해. 무엇이 더 발라 돈이 또 오고 말해. 제가 실세대 배라 차시랑 알아서라 차셔 버리네. 겨 통만 만에 지기는 거 감고 말에 겨 먹을랑 살아. 무엇이 뭐 타고서랑 안 줄라. 아, 네 무엇이 되는 것도 대상 팽기야 말해.
Lasso. So in this context, it's not talking about special insight in the sense of this realization of emptiness. It's not talking about this. This is quite different. It's a unification of calm abiding and this kind of this superior this special insight. But we have obtained these types of clairvoyance and knowing other people's mind numerous times because we've been in samsara, since beginningless time. So we've actually developed this power and this capacity before.
맞아, 다 돈이도 왜 실라스 그게 낸 좋다. 되는 것이 누구여 봐이나 다 시험이 편도 좀 그래. 되니 다 강사 파르벽에 딱 알아서 최고 토네 신 파르 볼라든 편도 가르가 주고 구도 있을라도 미파게라다 최 따라쳐서나 돈이 셰게 너도 rum에도 소래. 메롱에도 소래. 저 참아 셰인 거야 봐. 근데 너 시험이 편도 좀 그래. 하고서 돈이 그냥 rum에도 소래. 마롱에도 소래. 대셰인데 단어도 rum에들라 대 돈이 셰래라 쇼샤라 가이스나 공무시기도 비즈니스 셰 살아 봐. 아주 도가 지금 알아줘라. 다 가이스나 들어봐. 수로 동이 그냥 들어오는 수래 동네도 많은 것도 수래 제 하고야 말아 봐. 무심해도 오게.
아니티 카레 실라 순델 디기 토네 가서 텐데 지금 무시 텐데 톱기래.
그래.
So this calm abiding associated with this special insight, an element of special insight, is incredibly beneficial because you develop this clairvoyance, knowing the minds of others. So you can look at another person and have this capacity to know exactly what their mental dispositions are. For example, whether it's suitable or not to explain or give some teaching on emptiness to that person or not, because we don't actually have that capacity. We don't know these things. So we never know whether it's going to be beneficial to say such a thing or not. So this is one of the great benefits. If one has this clairvoyance, its capacity to know others' minds in relation to what would truly be beneficial for the other person, you can really respond to that very well.
That kind of thing, she said, tapping, she so top a la. Mola Shila Sundrig name to top. Shine Tower, Haton Tower, Shila. The other penny, Shine, that wishes to do. And I'm not told you, Maria.
Lamsan Tokyo Maria.
She didn't wish to do it.
Okay, so clairvoyance is obtained through this unification, this association of calm abiding and special insight, and it's something which is developed gradually. It doesn't, it's how to say, it's not obtained as kind of immediately. I think it's something which occurs gradually.
That gets him the Garshagger, Shine the Hadon get Namsha, the Ketchum Shagdua. Tanda to be you got somewhere as an Kari Yimba Yinayang, not to new never say me the Changuya, new never say me the Changuya. Target chata in the Shira with Chata Kari by the new was 7 Pachana Chaba never swag. Me the Changuya.
What's important for us is to understand clearly what calm abiding is and what this special insight is, and what these different kind of elements or aspects of it is very important. And what becomes our main objective is to eliminate disturbing emotions. Eliminating disturbing emotions becomes our key focus. And to do this, we are going to engage in this practice of the method element and the wisdom element in order to be able to eliminate disturbing emotions and their seeds.
That's just the machine by the Shende Gachambo shoe, do we are a Shende Gachambo shoe, which you do good do. That Karchagores, no more she, Yovayana. You shan't do the Lela of Yunguata. Shan't do Sakawa with Tamja Candy girl.
For a bodhisattva who engages in this kind of incredibly extensive beneficial activities and fulfills the wishes of others, if such a bodhisattva has this power of clairvoyance, knowing the mind of others, then it's incredibly easy for the bodhisattva to proceed in accomplishing the wishes of others. And so for us, it becomes quite difficult because we don't have this power, we don't have this strength.
Shirab zo dongni dobe shirab she. Tapshi nibu de yatena, nyamni yatena, deni tiba kaso, ta tiba pong tugu mare sene, Jurusangi goba tondo nyaba yene, deni tab tugu mare. Tapshi deni yamadeba nyamni jaba yena, deni tan daba na shi sangi goba sene, ta tabra sha su mana gaba na shi ta, tab tuya jiwa re sene,
we need to turn to and really focus on the main points here, which are going to be the method and the wisdom, and the kind of unification of these two method and wisdom, and understanding that exactly what is method, what does it actually entail, what does it actually mean, and then the wisdom, what is the wisdom, what does this mean, what does this refer to? Just like in the previous question, we're wondering about, instead of using the word method, thinking about compassion, we can also describe the method as the method being the mind of bodhicitta, understanding, trying to really get to grips with what these ideas are behind the word just method and wisdom. And because if we don't, and we still have this aspiration to attain the state of Buddhahood, and we have this wish, if we don't have this understanding, it's going to be difficult to actually progress to that state. But if we do have an understanding and we clearly know what these things mean, then we will make these prayers to be able to obtain Buddhahood, and we will actually be able to progress along and follow our aspirations and our prayers.
Yeah, I'm this, I guess.
So we'll stop here for today.
I'll just share the screen for the prayers. Jancho Semcho Rinpoche, Makia Panan Keguchi, Kiawanyam Pame Payang, Gone Gondu Pewa Sho, Tony Dawa Rinpoche, Makia Panan Keguchi, Kiawanyam Pame Payang, Gone Gondu Pewa Sho, Gangli Rawe Gowe Jinkande, Pendande Wa Malu Jungwin. Chenre ziguan tenzing gatsui, shape si te badu tengu chi. Tu zu shan xin zhang gen gelwe, tenzing gyong belwe kun zu do boze. Cho sun kurwe le mun to drop. Pada so dil je gun du shabten sho.